I don't want to say that our thumbnail has triggered some in the fan base, but anytime we start talking positive about Jerry Jeudy, Mace, people can get a little heated, right? Is that what they say?
Get a little heated, and that means you got to crack something open and cool down a little bit.
Perfect sound effect.
I could use a little bit of a cool down. I feel like today is just one little annoyance, one little issue after another. I just feel like everything's a little off today, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just warning everyone watching this show and listening to this show that maybe I am not my usual chipper self.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try. You know, the red light goes on. Boom, you gotta snap to it, right? So
you hear that canned rock music, baby, and you just want to get going. That's right, Orange and Blue today. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew, Mason, and the question is, the key for the Broncos, more passing. Mace against the 31st ranked Chargers pass defense. What say you?
It's still not the success equation for the Broncos, I think. We talked about it last week. Houston didn't have a very good pass defense, right? Broncos tried to get it going. It wasn't there. We were talking about yet another game where the passing was clunky and inconsistent. So, no, I don't think the key is more passing here.
Okay. I will disagree with you on that one because I think for me, I want what's best for the Denver Broncos long term, and that's finding out about Russell Wilson. And I'm sorry, Russ, you can't exactly do what Sean Payton wants you to do. I'm sorry you threw the 3 picks. Every interception has a story, and honestly, those 3 I don't even really blame on Russ. But to me, against that pass defense, it is passing, and it is going to more Jerry Jeudy. It is utilizing things that you don't normally see. You can win by running the ball. You can. And maybe that's their plan, Mace. But for me, I'm thinking long term, like I want to give Russ a 5-game audition. And if they keep winning because they keep running, do we really, and we as analysts, do we, Mace, really want to be see the Broncos at 10 wins, but they didn't really win because of Russ? Or do we want to see like, hey, they tried to pass against Houston, it didn't work. Hey, they tried to pass against the Chargers, it didn't work. Where do you come down on that?
I think for culture and morale, I think you have to maximize what the team is. And I think that's what Sean Payton's going to try to do as well. So I think you're thinking about the team result. You're not thinking about, okay, is this a referendum on Russell Wilson, right? That's going to take care of itself, I think. It seems to me when you say that, maybe I'm misinterpreting here.
Sure.
But reading between the lines, it seems like there's a concern you have over 10-7 leading to a false positive regarding the quarterback.
Well,
and maybe making a choice that you don't feel is necessarily the right long-term choice. Am I in the ballpark here?
You're barking up the right tree. We know each other too well, brother. And the thing is like, I think there's a scenario where you make the playoffs and you still replace Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I personally would rather have it more clear cut. Like, oh, you missed the playoffs. Okay, time to move on from Russ. Or, hey, you won 11 games because 11-6 is still possible. So, and then, okay, now Russ, still get a backup, better plan than Jarrett Stidham as a backup. But like, I don't want that pulse positive.
Do you say pulse positive?
Pulse positive. The pulse
positive
of the Broncos is orange and blue today. I don't want that false positive. I do want to learn how to speak English one day, though.
I think you're doing all right.
I'll do it.
We all have mistakes, right? I mean,
right. But I think that's a situation we're staring at with this Broncos team is like they could make the playoffs and still be thinking about replacing their quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, you worked in a spoonerism there. That's nice when you turn false positive into pulse positive.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what that is? Yeah.
No, I don't.
Now you do.
Okay.
It's when you kind of mess up the initial sounds in two words in a phrase or sentence, like Uh, you could use it to get away with saying a curse, right? In a humorous
Yes,
way.
you could, right.
Yes. Anyhow. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But I feel like we've been playing this game for years now about, okay, let's evaluate the quarterback, and maybe it's at the expense of the team, and it's all about figuring out whether you got the answer here. If you have a clear mind about it, then it won't matter, right? That's the thing. It won't matter.
Clarity.
Okay. Take the Buffalo Bills coming off the 2017 season, 9-7 with Tyrod Taylor, quarterback. What did they do? They moved on and they picked Josh Allen. Now, their bridge quarterback was Nathan Peterman. He didn't last very long as a bridge. It was like the Tacoma Narrows bridge, way back from 1940s, that video where it's swaying and it collapsed.
Right.
That's Nathan Peterman as a bridge quarterback. But they understood that they had reached a level that was as far as they were going to go with that veteran quarterback, and then they went in another direction. Of course, the complicating thing is with Russell Wilson, you can't have the conversation without talking about the contract. And if you move on, you are talking about $85 million of dead money. It's $68 million dead money if you trade him rather than cut him. But at the same time, fifth day of the league year, if he's on the roster, that's another $37 million guaranteed that you own him.
Right.
It's incredibly complex. The question is, could you get? Let's say you managed to do it to get him up to a point where you could trade him. Could you find this level of production for a low-cost bridge plus a draft pick quarterback? That's and that's why talking about the past examples of Teddy Bridgewater and Jameis Winston when they were in New Orleans is illuminating, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting to note also, Mace. I brought this up. You and I, well, this could be a long conversation, and it's one that we'll have in the pre-draft process. So briefly, if you'd like, or long, if you'd like, with NILs, the mid-round quarterback is dead. The Dak Prescott is dead. The Kirk Cousins is dead. Michigan State's just going to pay him a bunch of money to stay. Mississippi State's going to pay him a bunch of money to stay. You'll take a pay cut to come to the NFL. So that mid-round, like, hey, get your khaki pants, like Mike Evans always used to talk about. No, it's first round, early round quarterbacks now.
Well, the other thing is it's not dead. It's on pause until we get things sorted out in terms of coming off of the COVID year. Because 2020 did not count in terms of eligibility for college players. Everyone's getting a free year, and you still have college athletes that are taking advantage of that have that extra year because of COVID. I don't think it's going to normalize in terms of mid to late rounds in terms of the quarterbacks you're getting until probably 2026. You're a couple of years out from that. Because, for example, we'll see some quarterbacks who should have been in last year's draft that are in this year. Sam Hartman is a mid-round quarterback, right? He was at Wake Forest, could have come out last year, instead elected to do another year through the transfer portal at Notre Dame. Now he has to go in the draft process, right? So I don't think the mid-round quarterback is dead. I think we're just in a time period right now where the echoes of the COVID year and the impact on eligibility are still having an impact.
Spencer Rattler, you could say that same thing about, right?
He's another guy. Has he committed to senior or Shrine yet?
Haven't seen it yet. We will get more of that towards the end of the month, but we'll be there at both. So we are going to see likely the next Broncos quarterback at one of those two games. I feel firmly positive in that, whether it's Russ and the rookie backing him up until the rookie's ready, or if it's just the rookie from day one. I feel very positive that we'll see that quarterback.
And there's the interesting notion. What if you bring Russ back and under the current contract terms that effectively you're thinking this is 2 years? And how long is he a bridge to that young quarterback? And how long are you developing that young quarterback? That is something that could be in play. I think a name to keep an eye on is going to be Jayden Daniels, and part of it is putting the pieces together. But we know how Sean Payton and his staff are close with the people down at LSU, right?
Connected.
Yes. It would, even though this didn't work in New England, obviously, it's the same sort of concept as an Alabama quarterback like Matt Jones going to the Patriots. same thing. That being said, I think Jayden Daniels brings a heck of a lot more to the table than Mac Jones did. For one thing, I don't think Jayden Daniels is going to go down on a windy day in Mobile at Senior Bowl practice and struggle to throw the ball against the wind. You remember seeing that back in January 21, right? I mean, that was alarming to see how his passes could not cut through the wind on that one really cool breezy day that we had down there. And I mean, honestly, as that draft process went on with Mac Jones, that was the day that I could not get out of my mind. And what do we see now with the Patriots? We see a quarterback who does not really have a pro caliber arm, and the struggles have flowed from that.
Right. So it is all part of the process. We are here to learn. And the plan against the Chargers are a beatable team. I think this game, a loss to the Texans, Mace, that says one thing, right? Okay, you lose to the Texans, but Texans Lions, we always kind of looked at this stretch and like, oh, those are going to be a little interesting. You lose to a Chargers team that is reeling, that's coming off a 6-0 victory over said New England Patriots, although it was Bailey Zappi out there. But like, I think if this is a loss, it's much more significant and telling than it is playing terrible against Houston and still coming down to one play.
Yeah, this is a Chargers team that is on the brink of disaster right now. Okay. Ooh. I mean, they're on the precipice. Your job being the Broncos is to push them over, right? They are in an incredibly fragile state, and you have to capitalize off of that. This is a little bit of a disaster if the Broncos lose this game, especially that if you lose this, the other thing that goes into play is you're going to Detroit. Would you say Detroit at worst is one of the 5 best teams in football?
Yeah.
Okay. Even though their defense is shaky.
Yeah.
They're a top 5 team in the NFL right now. You don't want to have to go to Detroit on Saturday night when the crowd is jacked up and be in a situation where you have to win and then run the table in the following 3. Even though you'll be favored in the following 3 games, Patriots, Chargers at home, and then Raiders on the road, you don't want to lose that margin for error because the Broncos at 6-6, they are a mid-team. And what that means is they can win any game, they can lose any game. You can't. There's nothing going forward. Even that Patriots game on Christmas Eve, I'm not even putting that in Sharpie. The Patriots beat the Bills, who were also 6-6, right? The Broncos are a team like all the other teams that are in that back of the playoffs conversation. All those teams, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Houston, even though the Broncos lost to them, all those teams have fatal flaws. Jacksonville probably has a fatal flaw right now. They're dealing with Trevor Lawrence's injury. Right. So you can't go in and assume everything. I know it's like, oh, well, if the Broncos win out, if they win out, that'd be marvelous. I hope I'm talking about them winning out. Because if they win out, the other thing that happens, if they win out, then probably at some point Russell Wilson did some good things to make that possible. Yes. And here's another thing, and I had this conversation today. I had a lot of conversations today. Think about this for a moment. What if, with Russell Wilson, what if part of the equation becomes that he is legitimately good in crunch time and you kind of figure out a way to muddle through the first 50 minutes of the game and then have it come down to him at the end? Because, it didn't work out against Houston, but it worked out against Minnesota. Mm-hmm. It worked out against Buffalo. It worked out against Green Bay. And even going further back, it worked out against Chicago when you were down 28-7. You have 4 come from behind fourth quarter wins, right? And and Russell Wilson played a huge part in that. That's a skill too.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a skill that Russell Wilson has possessed and continues to possess. And that's something you can't say about every quarterback, right? Winning the big game, the Kirk Cousins problem. It looks great until it's crunch time and you need him. I know they were 8-0 in 1-score games last year, but still, with Russell Wilson, there are some positives, Mace. And the best thing, and fans may not like this, some fans, the best thing is Russ works out. The best thing is Russ, and I think a rookie still, even if Russ does work out, you have to plan for the future. He's running 10 times a game. You can't have that going forward.
Yeah, he just turned 35 last month. if he's running 10, 11 times a game like he has the last couple of weeks, at some point this is going to come to a painful end, right? It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
But they've figured out a way to maximize what this team is and what Russell Wilson is right now. Sean Payton, like John Fox 12 years ago, they're problem solvers, right? And they know how to maximize the gifts of the team that they possess in front of them. That is what coaching is, right?
Yeah.
So
that's what coaching is, and they got a group of good coaches around him.
Yeah. A lot of comments on Jerry Jeudy coming in. Do we want to move on to Jerry?
Let's move on to Jerry Jeudy.
Okay.
Can it be Jerry Jeudy? We've got that hot footage. The only thing I don't have, this is an off-air conversation, Mace, I should have told you. The Wilson podium file I could not get right. I think the files were up. But anyway, so we have Jeudy, we've got Mike McGlinchey, and we have PJ Locke saying the most interesting thing in the locker room this week.
Okay, well, let's start. First of all, I'm just gonna preface this since we don't have that Wilson clip from yesterday. Just Mike Kliss of Channel 9 asked Russell Wilson about the frustration showed by Jeudy and how do you react to that. And you can find the transcript of it over on my social media. You know what? Russ gave an answer that wasn't really an answer. Not an answer to the question.
Right.
There were a lot of platitudes about Jerry Jeudy. He had to eventually kind of circle back to figure out what specific play was being referenced. He was talking about another play before the media said no, it was the 4th and 1 with the scramble and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an answer it was a very political answer. I don't necessarily like political answers. I in my mind, when there were a couple of times yesterday when in my mind's ear I'm hearing the John McEnroe, right, when he's going to the chair umpire 40 years ago, answer the question, right? It's a good thing I got the mic some distance away.
Yeah. We're sorry about your eardrums. Oh, today.
Gosh.
But now that sets up Jerry Jeudy.
Let's move on to today. Jerry Jeudy, just this afternoon in the locker room, answering some questions about the display of frustration on the 4th and 1 play when Russ took off and scrambled and didn't see him with his own zip code down the left flank. So the Q&A session from the media. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
I mean, it was just in the moment, I guess. I don't really know how to answer that. It just happened in the moment. I mean, yeah.
Well, I guess I'm saying, does it linger, or does it happen?
It's just that game. Next game, you just move on next week. You focus on next week, and hopefully it just don't happen again. So, you don't really just dwell on the past. It's the last game, so you just move on.
When you do have a frustrating moment like that, what is the challenge of trying to sort of, put it behind you, not only for the next game, but next play, next drive, sort of within that?
Yeah, it definitely be challenging, but you got to know there's a lot more games to be left and to be played. So you just got to finish the game strong and just not focus on the last play, and hopefully next play or the next drive, you feel me, you get your opportunity.
Are we seeing the maturity of Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah, that last response there in particular is just,
way better answer than Russell Wilson's non-answer.
Right. And a way better answer than we got from Jerry Jeudy 2 months ago.
Exactly.
He's growing up before our eyes. There are little things that you notice that are really cool about seeing him mature. One thing that I noticed quite a bit in the locker room, he'll talk just off the record. He sits there and chats it up with the media, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just talk about college football, other stuff that's on his mind.
He's actually quite personable.
He really is.
During the losing streak, Mace, one thing that I've said on air, I'll say it here too. During the losing streak, he wasn't a malcontent. How many misconceptions are there about Jerry Jeudy? Oh, he's a me guy. Oh, he's a diva. He flipping wants to win.
He cares. The reaction.
It's true. You
It's
give me
because
chills, baby. Look at that.
He cares. And the thing is, he cares so much that he doesn't have a poker face. Okay, look, it's sports ball. Whatever you're talking about, football, baseball, anything. Ultimately, there's passion involved with it, right? And passion means that sometimes there's going to be those visible displays of frustration. That's okay. Is there some virtue to being neutral, as Russell Wilson tries to say? Yes, because that can help calm everybody down. But at the same time, there's also a place for that pounding heartbeat, that thumping, deep-seated passion, right? Manifesting itself. And, and it's now mixed with the maturity of saying, okay, I got to trust the game a little bit, that my chance is going to come. And you know what? The chance did come. And when the chance came, he made a big play, right?
Yep.
There you go. He actually set up a Russell Wilson touchdown run.
Right.
I mean, yeah. It's funny because it came up when last night I was on Denver Sports Tonight over on the radio side. And the conversation ends up being had, maybe the Broncos should have taken the trade offer for Jerry Jeudy, whatever it was, 3rd and 5th round pick.
Right.
I'm becoming more along the lines of saying I want to keep turning the pages here and see where this goes, because he's getting open.
Yep.
Often, right? And he's growing up, and I feel like if the Broncos traded him, then some other team would bear the fruit, right? Would get the rewards of all the time and investment that has been put into Jerry Jeudy over the last 4 seasons. But yeah, this dude's he's coming across as a different person than he was just 2 or 3 months ago.
Right.
I wonder if all that went down in October was a moment where he really did some self-reflection, or talk. And I think he also talked with people who have given him some good advice, because he really does. He doesn't seem like the same guy. He seems like somebody who's grown up.
Right. And I was having an off-air conversation with our man Zach By, and I'm like, Courtland Sutton, all these touchdowns, everything. Now teams are going to trade for him. Now you may get a 3rd rounder. So as crazy as fans would think this is, in the offseason, and you can only trade one, do you trade Sutton or do you trade Jeudy? Most people would say trade Jeudy, but the answer might be different.
Well, here's the other thing. There's an old saying that you trade if you're going to make a trade, you trade when the value is at its peak, right?
Sell
Is
high.
Courtland Sutton's value at a sell high point in the offseason?
We love Sutton, but I think he's hitting his ceiling, and it's not even a 1,000-yard season, but it'll be 10 touchdown season.
That's going to look really good. It's going to be attracted to some teams.
Right.
And how much of the 10 touchdowns is sort of a statistical anomaly that comes with Russell Wilson being low in plenty of metrics, but being really high in touchdown passes, particularly in the red zone, which does lend itself to Courtland Sutton. Right.
I'll throw in a Philadelphia reference, Mace, that you will get and appreciate. When Dallas Goedert goes down, it just means more Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. No Greg Dulcich. How would these numbers look in the red zone if you actually had a tight end?
Would you take away? I was going to say, would you take away at least 3 or 4 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, now we're at half.
Yeah.
So sell high, baby. Sell high.
Mm-hmm.
And God bless to Courtland Sutton, man. He's been really good about not making his opinions real well known and, doing what the team needs him to do. He's coming through. You love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's having a good season. He is, no doubt.
Wow. Nobody wants to pass in this game from the chat room. If the chat room was the offensive coordinator, Mace, nobody wants to pass. Am I the only one?
Because you're thinking about the long term, most people are thinking about the short term winning. And I get that. It's been a long 7 seasons without the playoffs around here. People want to go back to the postseason. And I'd like to think that whatever decision is made is not going to be clouded by the emotion of a playoff run. But you never know. You never know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can make a logical decision. Who knows what that decision is going to be when you start having emotions come into play.
Right. We got to put our emotions to the side because David says, "Hope you're having a great day." No, Mace and I individually are not having good days, but we are now because we're with you and we're together.
Shared moments. Yes.
Sharing moments.
Well, there's a cliche in this business that says that the show should be the best part of your workday, right? If you're doing a show, that whatever it is, the half hour, the hour, the 2 hours, it should be the best part of it. So, yeah, once I finally got back in and got over that was the thing. I was sitting in traffic. I got stuck behind a truck. I get here, I can't find my mic cord. Then when I finally find it and plug it in, my phone that I use as a camera doesn't read it. It's just like, okay, how many obstacles are going to be put in front of me today to make this show happen? It's kind of like the Broncos. How many obstacles are going to be in their way, right?
Right.
You know? And in the last 6 games, they're 5-1 in the last 6. They only have a 5-game winning streak, but 5-1 in 6 games is pretty good. And they have figured out how to navigate those obstacles. I'd like to think that I was able to successfully navigate some of the obstacles as well. So anyway, and I'm
Good job.
I'm doing a lot of talking with my hands right now, right?
Is the lack of confidence in the passing game, a lack of confidence in the offensive line? Donald brings that up in the chat room. Like, maybe that's fans just saw him pressured so much. They had no answer for Will Anderson. And Mike McGlinchey, who we've got audio from, these are fixable issues. That's the nice thing. It may seem down. We're not going to overreact to one game. These are fixable issues. But I think maybe the O-line play has fans thinking, no, just keep running the ball.
Well, don't forget also, I mean, there was pressure up front, no doubt, and Sean Payton spoke about the right side of the offensive line. But some of these sacks, and this is where the debate about Russell Wilson comes in. He's moving himself into sacks, right? I think the stat that is really interesting, and again, I don't know if it's not Pro Football Focus is not the be-all, end-all, but it's an interesting stat that they have that they only attribute 9 of 36 sacks allowed by the Broncos to the protection.
That's huge.
That's massive. That is 75% of the sacks not on protection is the highest percentage in the NFL by some distance as well. I think it's by like 12 percentage points. It's huge.
Wow. Massive.
Yeah.
Well, these problems are fixable, and something Mike McGlinchey told us in the locker room on Wednesday. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage. You got to hear this.
No, I don't think so. I think that would be a pretty dark place to be at in football if you didn't think that you could fix the problems that you're having. And that's what football's all about. It's just about the constant journey of improving. It's Ben Powers likes to say every once in a while, football sucks sometimes, and it's a matter of responding to that stuff. It's a matter of learning from the mistakes. It's a matter of taking your lumps and being tough enough to keep moving forward. And I don't think there's ever a time where you watch the film and say, "Man, he just got me," or "There's nothing I can do here," because that would be surrendering to a loser mindset. And I nobody has that here. And I'm very proud of that, and certainly it's something that we feel as though we've improved throughout the year, especially up front as an offensive line. We didn't have our best game on Sunday, certainly myself especially, but I feel as though we can still get better and we can still climb that ladder because we've been we've been great at times this year, and we got to be consistently great for this team to be successful.
Gold, Jerry.
Well, because what happened was when he talked about the question I asked him was he had brought up fixable issues, and I said, okay, what's it like when it's not fixable?
Right.
Is there ever a moment where you don't think it's fixable? Because you hear it a lot, and he admitted no, he hasn't had a moment where he didn't perceive the issues as fixable. Okay, that is the That is the pro athlete's mindset, basically.
Right. And sometimes football sucks, as Ben Powers said. I love that. There's a couple things said in the locker room this week. Still have to play the PJ Locke. But, sometimes football sucks, and you embrace the suck. You work through it.
Yeah. I think, the Ben Powers quote, right, that Mike McGlinchey talked about.
Yep.
It's what was it? It's gonna suck sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes football sucks. That's what
sometimes
Mike said.
Football sucks.
Yep.
According to Ben Powers. Reminds me of a long time ago, Clinton Portis when he was a running back for the Broncos, and now he's in jail.
Wait, CP's in jail?
Yeah, he went to jail for something.
Oh, okay.
He was. I want to get this right here.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, criminal. Okay, he's out now. Okay, my bad. He's out. But
Okay.
He was convicted of. He pled guilty to obtaining nearly $100,000 in benefits for medical equipment that was not actually provided.
I remember that. Yeah.
And he served 6 months of prison and 6 months of home confinement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So stuff happens sometimes. But Clinton Portis once said, "Can't do suck, can't really do."
I loved all the characters too. I love CP. I know Mike Shanahan stuff, and we didn't see it here. We saw it in Washington, but like, I still have a soft spot for CP.
He was a fun guy to cover. And back in the day, I don't know if he still has this. He had an extraordinary collection of throwback football jerseys that you can get from Mitchell and Ness.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
The one I remember him wearing that I just thought was top shelf was a Steve Bartkowski Atlanta Falcons 1980 jersey. And
Respect.
oh man, when the Falcons their colors were red, silver with a little bit of black trim, and they had the little Falcon logo on the sleeve, and and the red helmets. Oh man, they should go back to that. Why don't they go back to that look? That was beautiful.
I know.
The big stripes on the sleeves. Oh man.
Help my failing memory, because one of my favorite running backs played for the Falcons back then. It was Andrews.
William Andrews.
William Andrews. Yeah.
That dude. Okay. A receiving back who was ahead of his time. Like he was as effective in the passing game as he was as a runner. Bowled over people. There's one play he made against Denver at Mile High Stadium back in 1982. He goes like 89 yards with the ball, and it starts off. He just runs over people and then finds fifth gear and outruns everybody to the end zone. William Andrews was on a Hall of Fame trajectory before he shredded his knee during training camp in 1984. Really sad, and he's been largely forgotten.
He should not be.
No. That's a guy that, like, I would actually say, in terms of accomplishing a lot in a short period of time, I'd put him on some Hall of Fame lists because, man, he was spectacular for about 4 years or so, from about 80 to 83 before that injury. And of course, today, if he had that injury in 2023. Fine. He would have been back the next year. Like, look at Javonte Williams shreds his knee. He's back the following year. And today, given the Broncos Ed Block Courage Award winner, very deserving for coming all the way back from that injury. It's one of the cooler awards that the Broncos and every NFL team gives out just to honor somebody who's usually come back from a severe injury. And there's some good candidates. I mean, Garett Bolles, who got the Broncos Man of the Year award earlier this week, he would have been a great candidate as well, coming off the fractured ankle that he had last year, right? But Javonte is a good choice, and it's maybe there's a reason why we talk about this team being resilient, because they've got some dudes out there who have shown an awful lot of resilience in making it all the way back. Another player who's shown resilience is PJ Locke. Probably should have had more playing time. He's doing well with it right now. But interesting in light of Mike McGlinchey talking about things being fixable, to turn to a player on the defensive side offering similar sentiments. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage from PJ.
Yeah, the opponent is in his locker room. That's all it is, man. We just gotta, like I said, man, we just gotta be attention to details. And at the end of the day, we execute that. Like I said, when we look back at the film, we didn't play terrible on defense by any means. I mean, we had some few sloppy plays in the first half, and then after that, I mean, we kind of came together, and it was good. But other than that, man, we take away some of those plays, some of the third down plays, and hey, man, it's a different conversation right now. So I mean, like I said, it's no panic by any means to anybody. So, but I said, man, we got a good opponent this week, and they're gonna do some stuff to try to expose us. areas in the defense, and we just got to be ready for it.
The opponent is in this locker room.
I love it. It was great.
Yeah. That's if you want to get a snapshot of the Broncos' mindset and the confidence they still have, it's that they believe that the toughest foe they're going to face is themselves. Getting past the miscues and understanding that if you can just correct them on your own, they believe it doesn't matter what anybody else does.
It's a good way to believe, right?
It is.
It's on me.
It starts there. Accountability, right? It's and everyone having that sort of accountability as well. That's an interesting thing. Because in that response that Russell Wilson gave that we didn't have the video for, he talked about how the play kind of took a while to develop. In terms of Jerry Jeudy getting open, but that's part of how that play is designed. It's not supposed to be. It's not a quick, right?
Nope. And as a quarterback, you have to know how to buy time. I can't stand Tom Brady, but one of the best things he's ever done is he knew how, just the little thing. And Elway did it, but Elway did it with one of the largest scissor steps I've ever seen. Large. His first step, you wouldn't coach it that way because Elway's first step was because he'd get back so fast, but he's creating that separation. He's giving himself more time. Then he could scramble. Brady did it with the little, side, moving in the pocket sideways, climbing the pocket, climbing the ladder, scouts say. Russ got to do that, man. You got to do that.
He's got to do that. But can you teach a 12-year veteran old dog new tricks?
No. Sorry.
I mean, so, that's the conundrum the Broncos face. And it's the conversation that could define the offseason. Again, at least 5 more games here to figure this out, right? 5 more games plus maybe a playoff game or 2. But we'll see. This is interesting times in which the Broncos find themselves. Oh, by the way, I'm going to reiterate. I know something that you've said. They're not going to Jarrett Stidham unless season's over, right? Everyone knows or there's an injury. They're not going to pull Russell Wilson in this game, not for ineffectiveness, whatever. They're riding Russ as long as they can. Okay. And Russ still does have a lot of respect in that locker room.
Oh yeah.
It would not go over well. if
Nate calls you Dr. Feelgood.
What?
Nate calls you Dr. Feelgood.
Oh.
Maybe during the Steelers and Patriots, we need a little Dr. Feelgood in our lives because, oh my God, it's Steelers Patriots. It's Mitchell Trubisky versus Bailey Zappi.
Oh my God, this is a national television game. America's gonna sit down and watch crap.
Al Michaels going to be more checked out than he already is. Al Michaels is like Joe Namath with the Rams.
Al might have an all-timer night tonight. Like this tonight might go in the pantheon of
drinking.
Al being fed up. It's going to be like that. It might be like that Colts Broncos game last year.
Yes.
Which was okay. That was 3 hours of Al questioning his life choices. Right? What is tonight going to be? I mean, you know what? We're saying this, and it might be a surprisingly good game.
Mitchell Trubisky against Bailey Zappi.
But is it better than Kenny Pickett against Bailey Zappi? Mitchell Trubisky has started 2 playoff games.
Kenny Pickett is Derek Carr if he works out. If he plays to his highest level, he's Derek Carr. I said that when he was drafted. And I like the kid, but the Steelers are fooling themselves. You're fooling yourself. So,
yeah.
Brad asked if we're going an hour. Anytime we go a little late, I like to give us a little lanyap. Plus, we got a
Yeah.
lot to say, Mace.
We-
Plus,
and
we're
we-
trying to get in a good mood, and talking together in front of our audience puts us in a good mood.
We started late because, first of all, I mentioned the traffic. Second of all, like I said, my camera phone was not reading this mic, and we like it to sound good. We understand most of the audience is watching after the fact, watching time shift, right? I mean, I'm actually aware of at least one audience member who put the show on pause and then came watching the live stream and then came back to it, right? I mean, that we know people do that with our show all the time,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But yeah, we like giving you more. I think we'll probably give more tomorrow, right?
It's Game Plan Friday.
Yeah.
So we're there.
Are you gonna are you gonna be joining me in the locker room tomorrow?
That is to be determined. I am doing Schlereth and Evans tomorrow in studio.
Oh,
and then
of course.
I have a couple of meetings. So yeah, it'll be to be determined, but we will be here for you.
I have a meeting too, and then we have another
We're
thing
meeting together. Yeah.
Yes, we have another thing. We have another thing tomorrow night, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's for sure. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Brad says I look tired. Tired, stressed, kind of through the NFL season. This time of year, and trust me, I work construction. I worked on a farm and a ranch. Like, I get it. But, like, in December, football becomes like, okay, come on. January is my favorite month because we get to go to the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl. December, I'm just like, let's go. Come on. Little burnout, little like, hey, ass crack a ball sack. Yeah, here we go. So that's what we do.
You know what? And it's honestly like the world is celebrating holidays and being festive and all that. And in some ways, this is the busiest month for those who are on a pro football beat. And so kind of navigating that can be difficult at times. I'll admit.
Yes.
Again,
Yes.
it's a great job. It's, not complaining at all.
Right.
But there are times when I wish I covered a sport that left me most of December to actually enjoy the holidays and be merry and festive and
Yeah,
all
and
that.
plus, I don't want to get too deep or personal, Mace, because I'm fairly a private person. But I've got a couple of deaths in close to family member type of people, a couple of them this month, and I understand also. There's a lot of people during the holidays. Like, it's the most wonderful time of year. Not for everybody.
Suicide rate is the highest in December.
Sometimes it's because of loss. So as I often say to everyone, and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is one of my biggest, organizations that I support. You're never alone. You're never alone. Reach out, Twitter, YouTube comments, whatever. Like, you're never alone out there. And we have to acknowledge that. We can be happy. We can celebrate the holiday season. We also need to know there's people out there that are hurting.
Yeah, and you said it right there. I mean, I've been in that dark place sometimes myself. I'm just thankful I'm here and still kicking around and still having this conversation. But yeah, don't be afraid to call. Don't be afraid to reach out. And also, if you see someone that you know and you sense they're struggling, don't be afraid to ask,
Yes.
Are you okay? Is something wrong? How can I help?
And it's for everyone.
It really does.
And for men,
really
like
does help.
men, because we're manly men, we're not supposed to talk about our feelings. No, it's strong. When you say, "Can I have help?" You're strong.
Yeah.
When you say, "I need help," you're strong. When you say, "I need to talk to someone," you're strong. So, like, please don't think of that as weakness or something's wrong. Life is tough. Life is hard. We have each other, and we have great love for, hopefully, humanity, and of course, we share our love in sports.
Yeah.
Sports is the great unifier. It might be the only thing that's left, honestly. And I'm glad we have it because we need it.
We do. Look, the numbers are there, by the way, on the unifier. Just look at the fact that there's a reason why broadcast networks show a lot of sports, right? It still brings people together.
Yep.
Yeah, and it looks like our comment section's lighting up as well.
Yeah,
a lot
for
of people
sure.
Yeah. And we really appreciate you riding with us, but also appreciate you understanding and hopefully for all of you out there, if you've if you need help, don't be afraid to reach out. Hey, I mean, if you're struggling, don't be afraid to drop it in the chat. I mean, shoot, we got a pretty good audience out there, and I think a pretty supportive audience. And I'll tell you what, and I've found this when I've shared things on social media about some of my struggles. You will find that you don't have to be alone. That others understand.
Yes, and people that
however you
have
find
been
it,
through this.
yeah,
Right.
There's support out there. However you find it, there is support out there. So
Cheers to you, my friend.
yeah, we're cheers to you, and cheers to everyone watching this, and we appreciate all of you. And it's, this show made a shaky day a good day eventually once I got on. So this is, it's good. It puts a smile on my face. A lot of things put smiles on my face, but this show, certain people.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's always good. Andrew Mason, follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. OBT's the BFD. Do the YouTube things. I won't go through the spiel, but we appreciate you. Thank you very much. Stay tuned and stay frosty.